In the heart of every neighborhood lies an unspoken agreement, the belief in safety. Homes adorned with white picket fences and children playing freely in the streets paint a picture of tranquility. Yet beneath this idyllic facade lurks a chilling reality. Crime is often closer than we think. As the sun sets, casting long shadows over familiar sidewalks, the question lingers: how safe are we? Really? At the local community center, a town hall meeting buzzed with anticipation. Residents gathered, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. The room was filled with the scent of coffee and the sound of shuffling papers as the community police officer prepared to address the crowd. "We need to talk about safety in our neighborhood," he began, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "There have been reports of break-ins and suspicious activity. It's time we address these issues together." Among the attendees sat Clara, a longtime resident known for her dismissive attitude towards crime reports. "Honestly, it's just sensationalism," she scoffed to her friend, Mark, who sat beside her with a furrowed brow. "The media loves to blow things out of proportion. Our neighborhood is safe." Mark, who had lived in the area for only a couple of years, looked at her, his expression conflicted. "But what if it's not? What if there's more going on than we realize?" His voice was low, almost hesitant, as if the mere suggestion of danger could shatter Clara's serene perception. "You're overreacting," Clara shot back, her tone defensive. "Bad things happen elsewhere, not here." The tension in the air thickened as other residents began to share their own experiences. Ms. Thompson, a frail woman with silver hair, raised her hand. "I saw someone lurking around my porch last week. I thought it was just my imagination, but now, I'm not so sure." Clara's scoff faded into silence, her earlier confidence wavering as she processed the uneasy murmurs of agreement around her. As the meeting progressed, a sense of collective unease settled over the room. The community's perception of safety began to crack, revealing the hidden dangers that lurked in the shadows. The conversation shifted from denial to a more profound realization. Safety is not an inherent characteristic of a neighborhood. It's a fragile state that could be disrupted in an instant. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, illuminating the faces of the residents who were beginning to understand the chilling reality of their surroundings. Clara sat quietly, reflecting on the discussions of the evening. For the first time, she questioned her previous beliefs, recognizing that the illusion of safety might just be that, an illusion. Marissa Carter was the kind of person who made an impression on everyone she met. With her bright smile and infectious laughter, she brought warmth to the neighborhood. As a dedicated volunteer at the local animal shelter, she was beloved by both her human and furry friends alike. But one fateful Sunday morning, the vibrant energy that Marissa exuded vanished along with her. The news of her disappearance rippled through the community like a stone thrown into a still pond, creating waves of panic and disbelief. As friends and family gathered at her home, the atmosphere was thick with worry. Her mother, Susan, sat on the edge of the couch, her hands trembling as she clutched Marissa's favorite stuffed animal. "She wouldn't just leave," Susan said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something must have happened." In the days that followed, the community sprang into action. Flyers with Marissa's picture plastered over them were distributed, and search parties combed through parks and nearby woods. Clara, now transformed by the recent town hall meeting, felt compelled to participate. She joined a group of volunteers gathered at the community center, their faces etched with concern. "I can't believe this is happening in our neighborhood," one volunteer, Jenna, murmured as she pinned up another flyer. "I used to think we were untouchable." "It's scary to think about what could have happened," Clara replied, her earlier dismissiveness replaced with grim recognition. "We need to find her." Meanwhile, a local journalist named Ethan began to investigate Marissa's case, determined to uncover the truth. He was known for his tenacity and had a reputation for unearthing uncomfortable realities. As he interviewed neighbors, he noted the tension in their voices. "Marissa was always so careful," one neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, said, shaking his head. "She wouldn't have walked alone at night. Something's off." Ethan furrowed his brow, sensing a deeper story. "What do you mean? Did she have any enemies?" "No, not that I know of," Mr. Jenkins replied, glancing around as if afraid someone might overhear. "But I've seen some strange cars parked nearby late at night." This revelation sparked Ethan's curiosity. He started to connect the dots between Marissa's disappearance and unsettling changes in the neighborhood. A rise in unfamiliar faces, whispers of odd behavior, and the recent rise in crime that had been brushed aside until now. As the search for Marissa continued, Clara found herself drawn into the investigation. One evening, she sat with Mark at a local cafe, their conversation punctuated by the buzz of worried townsfolk discussing Marissa. "I can't shake this feeling," Clara admitted, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "What if she's hurt? Or worse?" Mark nodded, his expression serious. "We can't ignore the signs anymore. Maybe it's time we face the truth about safety in our neighborhood." "You're right," Clara said, a newfound determination in her voice. "We need to be vigilant, support each other, and keep our eyes open." In the following weeks, the community rallied together, driven by the hope of finding Marissa. The contrast between their idyllic neighborhood and the lurking darkness became ever more apparent. With every passing day, the illusion of safety crumbled further, revealing the hidden dangers that had remained hidden in the shadows. As the search intensified, the residents began to realize that their perception of safety had been a fragile illusion all along. They were no longer just witnesses to a tragedy. They were part of a community grappling with a haunting question of what lies beneath the surface. As the dust settled from the frantic search for Marissa Carter, another tragedy struck the community, sending shockwaves through the already shaken neighborhood. The news of Sandra Miller's murder at the hands of her son, Alex, unfurled like a dark cloak over a once vibrant landscape. The disbelief echoed in the streets, where whispers and hushed conversations replaced the usual greetings among neighbors. Sandra was a well-respected figure in the community, known for her kindness and generosity. She had volunteered at the local food bank for years, helping struggling families during tough times. "She was a second mother to many of us," said a tearful neighbor, Lisa, as she stood outside her home, trying to process the incomprehensible news. How could this happen? The relationship between Sandra and Alex was complex, often hidden behind closed doors. In flashbacks, the community remembered the moments that painted a picture of their life together. Sandra's laughter filling their modest home during family dinners, the way she would comfort Alex after a tough day at school, and the frequent arguments that punctuated their lives like thunder. "He was always so sensitive," Sandra once confided in a friend, "but lately, he's been acting differently. I worry about him." Conversations about Alex became the centerpiece of the community's shock. "I can't believe he could do something so terrible," said Mr. Jenkins, shaking his head in disbelief. "He was just a kid, always polite and respectful. There must have been something we didn't know." The local cafe, once a hub of laughter, now felt heavy with sorrow as residents shared their thoughts. Clara, still reeling from Marissa's disappearance, sat across from Mark, who struggled to find the right words. "It's like we're living in a horror story," Clara said, her voice trembling. "How could someone so close to you become a monster?" "It's a reminder that we can't know what goes on behind closed doors," Mark replied, his brow furrowed in concern. We have to look out for one another even more now. This could happen to anyone. Meanwhile, a psychologist from the community, Dr. Elena Ruiz, began to provide insights into the psychological factors that can lead to such horrific acts. Many times, the signs are subtle, she explained during a community meeting. Mental health issues, substance abuse, or a history of trauma can twist the bond between parent and child into something unrecognizable. It's important we talk about these things openly. As the community grappled with the reality that danger could come from within their own ranks, the unsettling truth became clear. The safety they once took for granted was an illusion, and the fear of the unknown now loomed larger than ever. Sandra's murder was not just an isolated incident. It was a stark reminder that the darkness could seep into even the most familiar of places. In the days that followed, the residents banded together, forming support groups and open forums to discuss their fears and establish a plan for community vigilance. Clara found herself at the forefront of these discussions, determined to foster a sense of unity in the face of tragedy. We need to share our stories, she urged the gathering, to understand each other better and prevent this from happening again. The reality of violence in their neighborhood echoed loudly, and as they shared their experiences, the residents began to see a glimmer of hope. Perhaps through awareness and connection, they could reclaim their safety and ensure that they were not just spectators in the unfolding narrative of their lives, but active participants in shaping a community where love and support could prevail over fear. As the community continued to process the devastating events surrounding Sandra Miller's murder, a deeper conversation began to emerge, one focused on the complexities of criminal behavior. The shocking realization that danger could come from within their own ranks left residents grappling with a question that loomed larger than their fear. What drives a person to commit such heinous acts? Clara, now a key figure in the community discussions, invited Dr. Elena Ruiz back for another meeting. We need to understand not just what happened, but why it happened, she asserted, her voice steady but passionate. We need to learn how to recognize the signs of distress before it's too late. The local library filled with concerned residents, all eager to uncover the layers behind criminal behavior. Dr. Ruiz began her presentation with a striking statistic. Most criminals don't fit the stereotype we often imagine. They're our neighbors, our friends, and even our family members. Many lead seemingly ordinary lives. Clara nodded, recalling her conversations with neighbors who had dismissed the idea that someone they knew could be capable of violence. But it can happen anywhere, she said, looking around the room. It's important we don't turn a blind eye. Dr. Ruiz shared several case studies, detailing individuals who had committed crimes that shocked their communities. One case involved a young man named Derek, who had been known as a quiet, friendly clerk at the local grocery store. He was always helpful and polite, said Mrs. Thompson, a longtime customer. I never would have thought he could hurt anyone. Yet, behind his gentle demeanor, Derek battled severe mental health issues and substance abuse, which spiraled out of control until he lashed out in a moment of despair. Mental health struggles can often go unnoticed, Dr. Ruiz explained, emphasizing the need for open dialogue. Substance abuse, trauma, and untreated psychological conditions can warp a person's reality. It's crucial to recognize these signs early. The discussion turned to the importance of community engagement. We need to foster an environment where people feel safe to talk about their struggles, Clara urged. If we recognize the signs of distress, we might be able to prevent the worst from happening. Mark, who had been quiet for most of the meeting, finally spoke up. But how do we even begin to identify these signs? What should we look for? It's not always easy, Dr. Ruiz replied, her tone measured. But there are warning signs. Changes in behavior, withdrawal from social interactions, increased aggression, or substance abuse can all be indicators. We need to be vigilant and supportive rather than judgmental. Clara felt a surge of determination. Let's create a support network, she suggested. We can establish regular meetings where people can come and share their experiences or concerns without fear of being judged. Maybe we can even have workshops on mental health awareness. The idea sparked a flicker of hope in the room. As residents began to discuss their thoughts, they started to see the value in understanding the complexities of the human mind. They realized that by sharing their own stories, they could break the stigma surrounding mental health and encourage others to seek help. We're all in this together, Clara concluded, her voice filled with conviction. We can't afford to ignore the signs. If we want to prevent tragedies like Sandra's murder, we must be proactive. Together, we can build a community that not only protects but also understands. That night, as the discussions continued to unfold, the community began to weave a new narrative, one where empathy and awareness could shine a light into the darkest corners of their lives. They were learning that safety was not just the absence of danger, but the presence of understanding, support, and solidarity among neighbors. As the community's understanding of criminal behavior deepened, a palpable shift began to take place. It was a transition from fear to empowerment. Clara, now a tireless advocate for safety and awareness, organized a neighborhood meeting to discuss practical strategies that would help residents protect themselves and foster a stronger sense of community. The local park buzzed with the energy of concerned citizens, eager to share their experiences and learn from one another. Clara stood at the front, her presence commanding yet approachable. Tonight, we embark on a journey towards empowerment. She began, her voice resonating with hope. We've faced darkness, but together, we can illuminate our neighborhood with knowledge and vigilance. As the crowd settled, Clara introduced a panel of speakers, including local law enforcement officers and community leaders. Officer Ramirez took the stage first. It's crucial to understand that prevention starts at home, he stated, his tone firm yet reassuring. Simple measures, like locking doors, installing lights, and being aware of your surroundings, can make a significant difference. Clara nodded, recalling her own experience of feeling vulnerable after Sandra's murder. I remember walking home one night, and I felt like I was being watched, she shared, her voice trembling slightly. But then I started to take small steps, carrying a whistle, joining a neighborhood watch group. It made me feel empowered. The audience leaned in, captivated by her story. A resident named Mia raised her hand. What about those of us who live alone? It's hard to feel safe when you come home to an empty house. You're not alone, Mia, Clara replied, her gaze steady. This is where community comes into play. Establishing connections with your neighbors can create a support system. Maybe you can set up a buddy system, check in on each other, or even forming a walking group. As the discussion continued, residents began to share their own stories. A gentleman named Frank recounted how he had initiated a neighborhood watch, organizing regular patrols that fostered camaraderie among residents. At first, it felt awkward, he admitted, chuckling. But now we've built friendships. And the best part? Crime rates have dropped significantly in our area. Clara smiled, encouraged by Frank's tale. That's the power of community resilience. When people feel connected, they're more likely to look out for one another. We need to embrace this spirit of engagement and communication. The conversation flowed naturally, with residents brainstorming ideas to enhance safety. Clara encouraged them to share their own safety tips on a community bulletin board. Let's create a space where we can post advice, local resources, and even stories of support, she suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. What about social media? Chimed in another resident. We could create a neighborhood group where we can alert each other about suspicious activities. Absolutely, Claire exclaimed. Digital communication is vital in today's world. It can bridge the gap between neighbors, making everyone feel more connected and informed. As the meeting drew to a close, Clara felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. Remember, empowerment isn't just about protecting ourselves. It's about creating a culture of awareness and support. We have the tools to make our neighborhood safer. Let's use them. The crowd erupted in applause, their spirits lifted. Clara left the park that evening filled with hope, knowing the seeds of change had been sown. The journey towards safety was not just a task for the individual, but a collective commitment to understanding, supporting, and uplifting one another. In the days and weeks that followed, the neighborhood began to transform. Residents reported feeling more secure, and the once quiet conversations about safety turned into proactive measures. They were no longer just reacting to fear. They were taking charge of their narrative, ensuring that safety was woven into the very fabric of their community.